Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Chris Binder. I'm from the Landesmedienzentrum Baden-Württemberg in Germany. And yes, you already introduced the title of my talk. So, of course, what you see here is Minetest, very much like the much more well-known Minecraft video game, a sandbox game. And well, what does it have to do with economic thinking and economic systems? Well, in many games, you can earn some kind of currency. So, for example, here in this game Burger Party, a little mobile game, you have to earn stars. Um, you can exchange them for better items or for upgrades. In some games, there's resources at play, like in this game Zero AD, here at the top of the screen. So you have to maybe build cities, build buildings, and create armies. And there's a lot of times there's resource management, uh, like in this game, in which a lot of people waste a lot of time. Factorio, in which you have to create the perfect factory in order to leave an apocalyptic planet. And all of these are where the items are and the blocks, or well, the resources are prepared for further processing. Which brings us to Minetest. Minetest is a sandbox game in a very open world. Not the open world in the sense that there is a lot of story to explore, but just in that it is a randomized world in which players can create almost anything. And here, survival is not a must. There is, as I said, no real narrative, and the world is lush with resources and blocks of different kinds. So you can craft a lot of things out of these. At a first glance, you would say that there's not a lot of economic thinking and economic emphasis put here, and it is left up to the players how to use this world that has been left to them, and whether they would like to participate or even simulate economic systems. So Minetest can either be played alone or in a multiplayer setting. And actually, what you're seeing here on screen is not really Minetest, but rather the Minetest game. So this is a bit confusing in terms of how they named it, but Minetest is rather the engine that allows a lot of different games. And there is actually more economic games, like a city building simulator, and there even is a capitalism game, which is currently being developed. But what you're seeing here and what most resembles the vanilla Minecraft experience is the so-called Minetest game. And just to get you some numbers and a little bit of the gameplay mechanics, the entire world is made up of blocks and also of items, but mostly blocks which form the landscape, and they're about 1 by 1 by 1 meters large. The world is approximately 62,000 blocks in each direction, so there's quite some way to explore. And the map is randomized with different biomes, just like in the physical world. And if you play in the survival mode, which I will talk about in just a second, there is crafting recipes for most blocks. So if you get blocks out of the world, you can, for example, cut a tree and transform the tree trunk into planks, and that maybe into sticks, and so on. So as the, so to speak, original game Minecraft, Minetest also has two game modes, creative and survival mode. And the difference is just that in creative mode, all of the blocks are available from the inventory. So you just have a very large selection of different possibilities to work creatively. And crafting, so the smelting and using of recipes of blocks into other blocks doesn't really play a huge role. So yeah, it emphasizes more creative builds. And then there's the possibility through so-called modifications to manipulate the terrain by itself as well. Whereas in survival mode, you have to harvest the blocks. For example, if it's like something you got from a mine, you can smelt them and get ores or get metals out of them. You can cut them up, and more emphasis is put on finding the right machinery and maybe also industrialization equipment to deal with these recipes. And in this game mode, creative tools are more used by admins or maybe used beforehand before you start an adventure. And it could still be about creative builds, but it leads to things like resource depots because you can't carry all of these resources around with you, and these industrialization spots I talked about before. So people would maybe build something like a sawmill or automated farms, things like that. The one really cool thing about Minetest is that it's very open. Indeed, it is an open source game. So it enables those who play to change the game in itself, and it supports various modifications, so-called mods. As I said before, Minetest is a game engine, so really there is from the community a huge emphasis on using it with these mods, and you can actually almost build your own game if you select from the over 1,000 mods that are available online. And they offer new blocks, new vehicles, as you can see here, and new gameplay features. So if we look for modifications tagged with commerce and economy, this yields 38 different modifications that add something like this. This is from the content database, ContentDB from content.minetest.net, where you can actually download all of these modifications for free. And these add things like individual trade and shops. They add currencies or coins. They are good for storing money in either safes or ATM boxes or so on. They add things like interest. Some of them are about granting privileges based on how you perform in the game, or even individualized items, like the autograph mod, which was filed here under the commerce economy section, but maybe also belongs to other sections as well. And then there's gambling, which is very interesting. So there's a slots machine, and also renting out, for example, apartments or plots of land. One modification that is used in many worlds, in many multiplayer worlds, is the currency mod. And as you can see, there's money lying around on the floor, and indeed, it also adds the gameplay mechanic that for harvesting blocks, you actually gain money, but this is of course configurable. And here you can see a trade table, which enables very simple trading when there is two persons around, and a trade chest, which enables automatic trades. So you deposit all of your resources and blocks beforehand and say what you want for them, either money or other blocks. And then it can perform these trades automatically if there's another player around. And for safekeeping, there's a safe as well. So I was interested in what kind of economic ideas there are in the community, because most of the time you actually see rather creative builds and collaborative builds from the community. And I wanted to see whether there was something like this, apart from the obvious mods which I just listed right now. So there are some efforts to provide economic games and gameplay, but they seem to be quite difficult or don't lead to very much, because in fact, a lot of the blocks are just renewable. So you can, even in the survival mode, which is more limited, you can just get infinite resources if you're clever and if you find out the proper ways. And it seems that the game is not, or the standard Minetest game selection is not very balanced towards economic thinking. So there have been some ideas about how to improve that, improve balancing, and maybe restrict what you have access to certain factions so that you would have to foster trade. But actually there hasn't been much development. This is from the Minetest forums, by the way. And then, which is also very interesting, some people from the crypto and NFT and metaverse bubble are trying to use Minetest just because it's very customizable, because it's very open source, and you can add your own gameplay mechanics. And here I found two examples, which is the Uplift metaverse game. And here in the screenshot, you can see things like images that are supposed to be NFT tokens, I guess. And still, it says, well, it values community and creativity, but adds or wants to add this economic layer. It is still in beta, and I wasn't really able to get much further information, for example, how it really works. I had a look at the modifications, but they seem to be taken from the same content database that everybody has access to, so there's not really that much difference, and in fact, you cannot really play it right now. And then there's this other idea, which is Metacraft. So they want to incorporate blockchain technology into Minetest and somehow have this large RPG world with some adventures as well. There's a couple other things like that. For example, a self-governance DAO system, which works in Minetest. But they are all not that well documented, and it seems that they are just stagnating. So what really is the problem then to incorporate economic ideas in Minetest in the sandbox game? Well, as was seen in the forum posts before, it's the balancing. So it seems there's not much need to actually have this trade going all along, even if there's the survival mode enabled. And then if you have a multiplayer world, this just either leads to the creative mode being enabled for everybody. So people can just be creative and do whatever they please. Or if indeed there's survival mode and there's limited resources available, I've have first-hand experience from a couple of projects that I did with different institutions. It just leads to players helping each other out. So they would rather just give resources they have spare for themselves to other players rather than exchanging them for money or other gains. And then they would just collaborate on builds or on structures. And then, of course, just because there's so much to explore and there's such an open world, all of the economic aspects have to compete with the adventures you can have in Minetest and the things you can just think of and create for yourself. So if you really wanted to, maybe some ideas to overcome the struggle to incorporate economic ideas in Minetest would be to enable survival mode, so as to reduce the amount of possible blocks available and possibilities for just pure creativity. Then from my experience, this is a good point, is to reward players who do well or who act in the way that maybe you want or that's economically viable by giving them rare or otherwise unobtainable items. So even in creative mode where there's almost everything available, there's not really everything available. There's still some things you can withhold, and maybe you can give out these things. For example, super strong tools or almost cheater-like items. But of course, then you create another problem that these overpowered items will be used to maybe get more resources. And another idea would be to embed the economic goal or these economic ideas, if you wanted to pursue them, into a narrative, so that you actually give an incentive to behave economically. So because I've been working for 3 years now with the Landesmedienzentrum Baden-Württemberg in Germany, I wanted to quickly touch on education in Minetest, because economic education could be a part of that as well. So we've created this web dashboard, which enables teachers and people who are in education to create their own Minetest servers. And here you can see a little bit how they are able to control them, create users, upload media files, and so on. And we provide pre-made templates, so maps that are pre-made, which can be used for different things, either for content learning or for other competencies that are important for the future and for students. And there's also a community of educators and learning facilitators that give back ideas. For example, an idea like this where you build synagogues as a symbol against anti-Semitism, and deal with this idea of the architecture and the background and the history, and then build them creatively and collaboratively in the virtual world. As of now, the learning ideas we've got on our site are for different subjects, but there's not really an economic idea. So we're really looking out for people who are maybe economy teachers or are interested in the subjects or in these subjects, because I think there's a lot of actually good ideas and good modifications and gameplay mechanics that would enable such a thing. For example, here is a screenshot showcasing an automated factory that in this case creates armor for defense against wild animals, but it could create something else entirely also. Or here an automated farm that improves works automatically and harvests wheat, which is growing right here. And as I said before, these hurdles for these economic ideas can, I think, be overcome, and economic thinking can be incorporated. But maybe also going beyond a purely economic idea, as is prevalent in today's capitalist society, I wanted to very quickly tell you about a project we're doing as well. And when I thought about the sandbox world of Minetest, I thought about a sandbox democracy, because you can do so much here. And actually, we have created a Erasmus project with student participants from different schools in Finland, France, and Germany, and it's about the Sustainable Development Goals. And here, actually, the adventure, communication, and collaborative working together of the students is prioritized over purely economic gains. So the students actually assume the roles of secret agents in training for a secret society that wants to combat climate change and works to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. And in this narrative, the players or the students are in creative mode and can actually work together, plan, and communicate also across different languages, so in their foreign language, work together and come up with ideas that could also be problem solving for the physical world. So they have to overcome challenges, and they have to decide together also how to improve certain places they visit in the world and how to improve buildings. And they come up with actually entirely new structures. So I would say in a nutshell, Minetest provides creative and collaborative potential through this very customizable game engine. And I think in a time that is plagued with things like bullshit jobs and hustle culture, this could be a real good thing. Due to its open nature, it offers the potential to simulate economic systems, but also to engage in economic systems that are different to ours, and maybe to come up with ideas that help the world and solve problems. So to provide solutions to problems that are also needed in the physical world. That's it. Thank you for listening.